There's a lot of really exciting new AI stuff I want to demo for you from this past week. Google released a new video generation model I'm going to show you. There are new features in Claude Cowork. OpenAI released a bunch of new features, some of them really fun and others really helpful. And there are some fun new gadgets. That's a lot to cover, but I promise you I will only talk about the AI news that actually matters and the AI news that's a lot of fun. That's what I do every week in my weekly AI news recap. If you want to stay on top of the important AI news, make sure to subscribe. And now to the news. I want to start by talking about Google's new video generation model. It just came out yesterday, so it's breaking news. And this is called Omni 1.1 Flash. The original Omni 1 Flash came out in May, so this new version is now a few months later. And they promise with this new update, you can now extend scenes, you can specify a starting and end frame for your shot, you can add video input as references, and there are new resolutions. You can upscale up to 4K, and you can create the videos in as low as 360p. That will allow you to generate the videos faster, to test ideas, and without burning through your credits as quickly. This is currently available in the API, and it's also available inside of Google Flow. So if you're not familiar with Flow, this is a tool that you can use to generate images and videos. You can already do this inside of Gemini directly, but this is a dashboard dedicated specifically for generating images and videos. You can even switch which model you're using for the generation process, and you can generate multiple images and videos with a single prompt so you can compare the results. So it's a really great tool if you're into image and video generation. Returning back to the announcement though, we can see some examples of what they've created. So this one is demonstrating how you can now extend footage by using prior videos as a reference. So this is the original video of this guy writing something down. And then they're going to use that as a reference for the next video so that it maintains the character and scene consistency throughout it. Next, you can also use a start and end frame. So that way you can really dictate what the video will look like from start to finish. I'll show you some examples of how I did that. And then you can also obviously render them in 360p if you wanted to. All right, so I'll show you what I did. I created a new project in Flow because inside of Flow, you can create projects where you can organize related images and videos. So it's nicely organized. So this is the one I created for this medieval fantasy scene I was working on, where I wanted all of these travelers to go through this ancient portal. So I started out not creating videos, but I started out creating images so that I could then turn those images into the video using those start and end frames that we just heard about. So this was the image that I generated. And just to give you a quick demo on how Flow works, this is the prompt box down here. You type in your prompt, and then on here, you can select if you want images or videos generated, the aspect ratio, the model you want to use, and the number of outputs. Like if I choose 4, then it'll create 4 images instead of just 1. But I just did one at a time. I created this image, and then I told it to take that image. I used that in the next prompt and told it to take that same image, but now the archway is lit up and has this portal that's appearing. And then the portal kind of calms down, someone walks through it, and then the rest of them follow until they're all gone. So those were all images. The next thing I did was I turned those images into a video using the start and end frame feature. So here on the selector, the settings here, I chose video, and you can use frames. And frames will let you select both the start frame and the end frame. So that's what I did here. I used those 2 images, the one without the portal and then the one where the portal appears. So all of that worked pretty good. However, what I discovered is that Omni still suffers from an issue it had with the last version of it, which is that it's not always the best at following directions, and sometimes it will introduce new elements when you don't ask it to. So in this example, suddenly a new person appears out of nowhere, and they're the ones who activate the portal, which obviously is not what I want. And then you can even see at the end, he just disappears into nothing. So that's not what I wanted. So I tried again, and then it happened again. And then finally for this prompt, I was a little bit more careful with my prompting language. And I said, one of the travelers in the scene at the start of the scene raises his staff. Do not add any new characters. And then that worked quite well. That was what I was looking for. So then what I did was I used the other images to do the same thing. So I could generate like 3 or 4 different clips. And then I brought all of them together into this timeline. So you can see what that video looks like right here. The guy raises his staff, the portal appears, then it sort of dims out a little bit right there. And then this is one place where it also struggled. So what I wanted was for one of the people to walk forward into the portal. And you can see here, it gets messed up where the wrong guy walks forward and then they switch spots. So I just couldn't get it to not do that. Another issue I have with Omni where sometimes it just decides it wants to do something, and no matter how much you prompt it, it's really hard to get it not to do something that for some reason it wants to do. But otherwise, the rest of the video looks really good. The consistency through it and the way it was able to use the start and end frames are really, really nice. So this, I don't know if it's available inside of Gemini directly yet, but it does seem to be better than the last version of Omni, which was already a fantastic video generation model. Before we get to the next story, let's take a moment to hear from the sponsor of today's video, AbacusAI SuperComputer. SuperComputer is an all-in-one platform where you can build, deploy, and host apps, agents, workflows, APIs, and databases. In plain English, that means you can create always-on agents using any LLM you want in the cloud. So your agent can be working 24/7 even if your computer is off. Let's say, for example, you want to start experimenting with open source LLMs, but your computer isn't powerful enough to run them. Well, you can ask SuperComputer to host the LLM and to give you a UI to chat with it. SuperComputer handles all the complicated work in the background. I don't have to set anything up or even figure out how to host the model. Or let's say you've been interested in setting up your own OpenClaw or Hermes agent, but the whole process seems a little too daunting for you. Well, SuperComputer has a one-click install for both OpenClaw and Hermes. It will set it up for you, help you configure it, and it'll all run in the cloud so you'll have access to your agent 24/7. And those are just a couple of examples. SuperComputer can also be used to build and host websites, apps, and games. AbacusAI SuperComputer starts at just $7 a month for the first month. Check it out using the link in the description. And now back to the news. All right, before we get to some of the more serious AI news, let's talk about some fun stuff. And we'll start with a new release from Hugging Face, which is an AI community where you can release open source models, but they just did something very different. They've announced that they're going to start selling Microduck. This is an open sourced robot that you train yourself, and it looks insanely cute. So check these out. This is what they look like. They have all these different colors. They can stand, they can sit, and they even have these mouths where they can grab stuff. Let's watch this video. I mean, it's so wild what these can do. They can walk around, they can get back up. You can train it to do things. It will just watch what you're doing to learn. It will interact with you. It can grab stuff. I think one of the wildest things it can do is that it can skate around, and it does it really well. I mean, check that out. That looks really cool. And what's, I think, really amazing about this is that this only costs $399, which is a lot of money, but I think for a product like this, it doesn't seem like a lot. I would expect this to be much more expensive, especially how capable it is. And the fact that it's open source, you can kind of do whatever you want with it, is really cool. It's a very, very neat looking product from Hugging Face. Again, it's called the Microduck if you want to check it out and order one for yourself. We will continue the fun news, but we'll move on to talking about some of the fun stuff OpenAI has been up to with ChatGPT. So now when you open up the ChatGPT app on your phone and you come over on the left here to images, you will see an option to create these sticker packs that you can then use in something like iMessage. So first you'll choose the style. Let's give this one a shot. I want to choose like this meme style. And then you can select an image. So let me grab some images, or maybe just one image. All right, there's an image of my 2 dogs. You probably can't see it. And then you can remix it. So you can choose these different emojis. I'm not exactly sure what this will do, but let's just give it a shot and see what happens. Click on generate. So this is the prompt that it creates for you based on that. All right, so this is what it created. I gotta say, this looks absolutely adorable. I wasn't expecting them to turn out this good or this funny, but I absolutely love them. So now what you can do is you can add these to your chat apps to use them as stickers in the chat. You can do that by clicking right here where it says add to chat apps. And then you can select iMessage or WhatsApp or just save it to your photos. I'll select iMessage. And it looks like that was now saved. And then inside a message, you can click on the plus icon to find the stickers. And you have to scroll down to where it says stickers. And then under the ChatGPT tab, you'll see all of your stickers and you can throw those in or even use them as reactions. Yeah, so that's a lot of fun. But while I have this open, I want to show you something else. Notice that for all these stickers, there's a transparent background. And that highlights another new feature about ChatGPT that most people never heard about, which is that you can now create images with transparent backgrounds. So if I return back to ChatGPT and I ask it to create an image of something with a transparent background, and then it will create that image, of course, but it has a transparent background. In other words, it has no background. So if I just bring this over to my computer, for instance, there we go, and I preview this, you'll see exactly what I mean, right? No background to it. So this is really nice for things like websites. You can have images popping out a lot better without being constrained to the dimensions of a typical image. So a lot of great use cases for that. And it's really cool that you can now do that in ChatGPT. The last thing I want to show you on my phone are the new ChatGPT widgets. Now, apparently I don't have access to this yet, but this is what it's going to look like on iOS. You can long press on the iOS home screen, obviously, to pop up this menu where you can select Add Widget. And then from there, you'll type in ChatGPT. This is how you add any other widget. But now when you swipe over, you'll have the option for ChatGPT shortcuts. That's the new widget that they've just added. And from here, you can choose exactly what each of these buttons do. You get a lot more choices than we got before. So you can quickly access the features inside of ChatGPT that you use the most often, whether that's accessing the camera, going right into dictation mode, right into voice mode, or right into Codex Remote. You can do all of that right from the widget. But let's move on now to the more important stuff that maybe isn't as fun, although I still think this stuff is pretty cool. So now, if you're using ChatGPT Work on the web or on mobile, they've added a new feature where Work can log into websites for you securely. So let me show you what that looks like. Let's say, for instance, I want ChatGPT to log into my Buy Me a Coffee account and to initiate a withdrawal. And I'm choosing this one because this will require ChatGPT to use the browser and to log in. There's no MCP for this. And this is something I could obviously set up on a schedule, but I just want to demonstrate how this will work because there are two things that are going to happen here. So first, ChatGPT is going to open up its cloud-based browser to navigate to the Buy Me a Coffee website. Usually it'll ask for permission to do that first. Yep, there we go. So I'll select allow for this chat. And then you'll see over here on the right, it is opening up its cloud browser and going over to buymeacoffee.com. Now that's new. It could do that before, but in the past, if you wanted it to log in, you would have to take over this browser and supply your login credentials in here, which was kind of a pain. So they've added this new feature. Here it is. You can see right here in the chat, it's asking me to sign in. So I'm going to select continue with email, and then I can enter in the email I use with buymeacoffee.com, submit that, and now it's asking for the password. So I can enter this in here. And what's cool about this is that the model never sees your login credentials. So the model isn't seeing your password and your password isn't stored, but it will keep you logged in. So I can submit that along and then it will then log me in and finish the task that I gave it. Now, all of that is great. However, what I found in practice is that this doesn't work all that well. For a lot of websites, ChatGPT gets stuck on the human verification step. And even when I take over the browser and try to click through to prove that I'm a human, it seems to fail. It seems to be something about the ChatGPT cloud browser that a lot of websites don't like. So in practice, unfortunately, I haven't found this to be all that helpful just because ChatGPT cannot access so many websites. And just so I'm clear about this, the feature I just showed you is only available for the phone version of ChatGPT and on the web app. It's not available inside the ChatGPT desktop app, but what is available inside the ChatGPT desktop app is a browser. It's not a cloud-based browser. It is a browser on your computer, and it works a lot better than that cloud-based browser I just showed you that has trouble accessing a lot of websites. This one I have found I can access all the same websites I can normally access with Chrome. Then obviously if I need to log in, It's a lot easier to do this on my computer, so we don't need that extra login credential pop-up that they just added. You can just do it inside the browser and then ask ChatGPT to take over the browser. Returning back to the ChatGPT Work app on the web, there's been an update now to schedule tasks. Well, actually, I'm not even sure if these new things are called scheduled tasks, that they're more like triggered tasks. Let me just show you how this works. So I'm going to call up a plugin, let's say the Gmail plugin. And if I tell ChatGPT to look for any emails or look for when I get an email from AbacusAI about the date for the next video, and when that happens, I want ChatGPT to add that date to my calendar and then put together an outline for the video. So notice ChatGPT isn't going to get to work until I get that email. And that's the new thing here. We no longer have to set up scheduled tasks, like tell it every hour check for this email or every day check for this email. Instead, we are setting the trigger. When I get a specific email, I then want you to do these next tasks. So that is a new feature, and it's available not just for Gmail triggers, but also Slack and GitHub. ChatGPT is also rolling out scheduled tasks, the normal scheduled tasks, to free users who can create up to 3 tasks for free now. And the last ChatGPT update I want to talk about is an update to temporary chats. So temporary chats are only available inside regular chat. You can find those by clicking up here where it says temporary chat. And normally the way that these work is anything that you type in here never gets saved to your ChatGPT history. But they just added 2 new features to this. So first, you can choose between having a personalized temporary chat or an unpersonalized one. And the difference is if you choose unpersonalized, it's like you're talking to ChatGPT for the first time. It has no idea who you are. But with personalized, it can use your plugins, it can reference the memory, and it will use your custom instructions. What's also pretty neat is that if you start something in a temporary chat and you change your mind and you want to save it to your history, you can click right here where it says save chat, confirm it, and now it is part of your history and it becomes a normal chat. All right, let's talk about what Anthropic has been up to, because they've announced that Claude Cowork is getting its own built-in browser. And if we take a look at this, this looks very similar to the browser that's built into ChatGPT Work. You ask Claude to do a task for you, and then the browser opens up on the right, and it seems like at any point you can take over that browser if you want to. So I'm really glad they added this feature. I think that the browser built into the ChatGPT app is one of its standout and most useful features. So I'm glad to see that Cowork is now getting a similar tool as well. I don't have it yet. It's currently rolling out. I'll be sure to test it when it is, and maybe I'll even do a comparison between the Cowork version and the ChatGPT Work version. Speaking of the Claude desktop app, you may notice if you open it up that it looks a little bit different now, just a little bit. This kind of makes me laugh because it seems like every week Anthropic changes the way that Claude looks just by a little bit, and I don't understand why. So now up here, the tabs for chat and Cowork are smaller. They look like this, and the project selector for Claude Cowork looks like this. And the selection between manually approve and skip all and automatically approve look like that. So everything is like pretty much in the same spot. It just looks a little bit different. And I don't know why Anthropic keeps doing this. They also keep making a lot of changes to the way Claude design looks, and the changes are so subtle, I don't understand it. But anyway, it just looks a little bit different now. But the reason I opened this up is because I want to show you something in the settings. If you open up the settings and come down here to memory, Claude has a new memory system. This is a unified experience across both chat and Claude Cowork, which means that you can sort of switch between the two of them and sort of continue conversations, and it will remember things between chat and Cowork. Now, what it's not going to do is it's not going to put into its memory anything that's considered a sensitive topic, like health conditions or religious beliefs. But if you want to toggle that on, you can. The choice is yours, and it's off by default. You can also see all of your memories down here. Again, both the ones from chat and Cowork. So you can always edit them or delete them if you don't want to save them. And of course, you can toggle this off completely and it won't generate any of these memories. The other cool thing about this is if you come down to the memories, you'll see that they are grouped by category. So I have a category here called You, which I guess is all a bunch of memories about me and the kind of stuff that I like and things about me. And then the different topics that I'm interested in. Obviously, it knows I'm into fitness and business admin, I guess, outdoor hobbies, and different areas of my life. We have one for different people in my life. So I'm sure that'll get updated and there'll be even more categories as time goes on. And the final interesting thing about this is that these memories will be created as you are chatting with ChatGPT. It's not like at the end it summarizes them and adds them into the memory, or you don't even have to tell it, hey, remember this. It's just going to remember things as you are chatting with it. All right, let's return back to Google because there are some other updates to their products. The first one is pretty big, and I don't think most people appreciate how awesome this is, but they just updated Gemini Live, so it now has agentic capabilities. So what that means is that you can open up Live with Gemini on your phone and talk to it, and it can do a whole lot more for you. So it can go through your emails, it can read you your daily brief, it can help you with Spark, and all just by talking with it. So if we look at some of these examples here, you could send it a photo of a bunch of receipts. You could see it now has access to Google Photos. It has access to all your workspace tools like Gmail, like Drive, like Google Docs. You can create Google Tasks just from photos. Here's the daily brief example. You can show a video asking, how do I jumpstart my car? And wow, check that out. That's super cool. How do I jumpstart my car? And Google will actually highlight the correct spot for you. That's really neat. Turn it on a selfie and say, what would I look like with some layered bangs? And boom, it then creates an image for you, a couple images for you. That's really impressive. So I've been testing it out. I'm really liking it. I haven't had a lot of time to play with it. And all the examples I've come up with have been extremely personalized. So it's hard for me to demo them because, it's like stuff like my personal emails and stuff. But I need to come up with some better use cases that I can actually show you guys because it is incredible. I don't think most people understand like how cool something like this is. And the fact that it is available on your phone in Gemini is really, really cool. So definitely check out the new Gemini Live. There's also been an update to everyone's favorite Google AI tool, Gemini Notebook, or as it's formerly called, Notebook LM. Now up here at the top, you'll see new featured notebooks. And this is part of a new update where for eligible Google Play ebook purchases, you will see a button that says Use with Gemini Notebook. And when you click on that button, you can select what notebook you want to add that into, or you can start a new one, and then you can chat with the notebook about that ebook. You can ask it for clarification. It can help you do a deep dive as you are reading it to understand it better. So it's pretty cool. And inside the featured notebook section, we now see some examples of that. So this is a book called Eat Smarter, Live Better. You could see the ebook up here now, and these are the supplementary sources. And then inside of here, you can basically chat with the ebook, or of course in Studio on the right, you can generate assets like infographics about the ebook. And if you did purchase it, you would see it unlocked here, but it's locked for me because I did not purchase it. But I could come here and buy it if I wanted to. The last Google update I have for you is they've released a new speech-to-text model called Gemini 3.5 Transcribe. And what's interesting about this is that this does real-time transcription and can fix itself on the fly. Now, currently, this is only available inside of Google AI Studio and through the API. So what that means is it's really only available if you're building your own apps. However, I think it may also be available inside the Gemini desktop app. Anyway, I decided to play around with it. I vibe coded my own quick app for this because I've always wanted a transcription app that will just type in real time into the field or on the document that I'm working on. So check out what I built. I think it's kind of neat. Hey, so right now I'm doing the voice to text using the new transcription model. And you'll notice that it is typing as I'm speaking. What's interesting about this is after I'm done talking, when I pause, it will go back and fix any errors. So for example, if I have a lot of filler words and then I stop talking, then it will fix it. Just like that. So it's pretty cool. You can also do something like, let's go to the party on Friday. No, I mean Monday. It'll type all that out, but then when I stop, it will be fixed. There we go. So I don't know. It's pretty neat. It's a little bit clunky, right? I can understand why no one has done this before because it starts to write it out and then goes back and fixes itself. So yeah, I don't know. It was kind of fun to play around with and it's a really cool new model. Let's finish up this week with some quick news from Perplexity and SpaceX AI. So first, Perplexity announced something interesting called Portable Computer, and this is a local first AI. When you use it, it will primarily use local models like Qwen 3.827b. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. It just means it is a local model. Nothing ever goes to the cloud. But then if it needs something more powerful, it will then use a cloud model. I thought this was pretty interesting because a lot of people are interested in local models, but setting them up can be difficult for them. But if there's just something that's prepackaged and ready to go, that's pretty neat. The thing is, in order to use this, you need to have a NVIDIA DGX Spark, and those cost almost $5,000. So I don't think for most people, this is really attainable. And then we have SpaceXAI. A couple of weeks ago, they released a product called Grokbot. I've already made a couple of videos about it. At the time though, when I made my first video, it cost about $200 a month just to use Grokbot, but they've lowered that cost quite a bit, and you can now use it for just $20 a month. So if you want to check it out and you've been looking at Grokbot, now it might be a good time for you to try it out. So lots of exciting stuff this past week. I think practically speaking, the Claude Cowork browser is going to be the most impactful update from this past week. But as silly as it sounds, I got really excited about those ChatGPT stickers. I wasn't expecting much, but I was really impressed with the way they came out. I think it's really fun, and I really can't wait to play around with those some more. I also think that the Gemini Live update, if people actually take advantage of that, they're going to see how freaking cool that is and how useful it is. Talking with agents through a live interface like Live is something that a lot of us are discovering is a fantastic way to use agents. But on the more consumer side, that can be a little bit difficult for people to understand. I think this may finally bridge the gap for them. But anyway, if you found this update helpful and this is the kind of AI news that you care about, then consider subscribing to the channel. I am on my way to 500,000 subscribers, and I may be able to hit it by the end of September. So if you want to help me out, just hit the subscribe button. But if not, that's cool too. Either way, I'll be back next week for another weekly AI news recap, and I'll see you then. Bye for now.